In a matter of days, Sam Bankman-Fried would go from having a net worth of $32 billion to losing it all. Billions of dollars from the crypto market would go away and over 100 companies would face bankruptcy. All of this because of what Sam built and created. So where does this start? In around 2017, Sam managed to find a loophole where he could take advantage of the fact that the price of Bitcoin was around 10 to 15% higher in Japan than in the US due to high demand in the Japanese market. He would buy Bitcoin cheaper in the US and sell it for more in Japan. This arbitrage trading was successful in making him a lot of money, seeing as he would be moving up to $25 million per day to take advantage of this price difference. He would use the profits from these trades to start Alameda Research, a trading firm. Sam mostly hired his MIT college friends and former work colleagues from Jane Street, a New York firm. Throughout the years, Sam was perceived to be trustworthy and would portray himself as a humble billionaire, driving a Toyota rather than a supercar, even though he owned a $30 million mansion in the Bahamas. Despite that, many social media influencers bought into Sam's humble life and indirectly as well as directly promoted him and his businesses. While at Jane Street, the New York firm, Sam would meet Caroline Ellison. Sam would begin dating Caroline, and when Caroline was unsure what career to pursue, Sam proposed for her to work for his company, Alameda Research. She quickly became the CEO of that company, and the issue with that was that she had little knowledge of trading. Several things Caroline would mention in her interviews did not inspire any confidence in her trading abilities. For example, she would say that she used very little math, and that basically all of the math that was used was elementary school math, and that they didn't use stop losses for risk management. Alameda Research was quoted to be run by a gang of kids in the Bahamas, and it was said that Sam had an inner circle of 10 people who partied together and were romantically involved with each other. Even with these issues, in 2019, Sam launched FTX. FTX was a cryptocurrency derivatives exchange, which essentially is a platform where different cryptocurrencies and tokens can be stored and traded. FTX would also give discounts to people who used FTX's own token, FTT, to store their money. The FTT token was what caused the downfall of FTX later down the line. Alameda Research was still being looked at with curious eyes, as an alleged 2019 promotional document stated that in order to attract more clients, Alameda promised a 15% annual return rate, which sounded too good to be true. However, the Wall Street Journal would later reveal that Alameda Research would receive $10 billion in FTX customer funds to invest with, without the customers even knowing about it. Moreover, considering the trading knowledge Caroline, Alameda's CEO, possesses, some investments could actually have been considered gambling. This was some very sketchy behavior between the two companies, but somehow, Sam still managed to raise $2 billion of investment from big players such as BlackRock. Sequoia Capital also invested $210 million into FTX, and the absurd aspect is that during the call to discuss the investment, Sam was playing League of Legends, a video game. Sequoia would still end up giving Sam the $210 million, a decision they would later regret. The rise in cryptocurrencies in 2020 and 2021 meant that FTX grew exponentially. In July 2021, FTX reported it was averaging $10 billion in a day in trading volume. FTX was marketing itself more than ever, as it was sponsoring the Golden State Warriors, the Mercedes Formula One team, and even had a few stadiums named after them. Celebrity endorsements with Tom Brady, Stephen Curry, and many more were appearing from left and right, and it seemed that FTX could not be stopped. Continuing the momentum, Sam decided to get FTX politically involved to increase its power. So he built infrastructure to supply funds to Ukraine, donated $5 million to Joe Biden in 2020, and another $50 million to politicians for the 2022 midterm elections. It was even found that Ryan Salame, a co-CEO of FTX, donated $23 million to Republican politicians. In this way, FTX would have political power no matter who was in power. However, there would come a turning point mid-2022. Inflation was increasing and the US Federal Reserve increased interest rates as a response. This meant that borrowing money became more expensive, and as a result, low-risk investments were chosen over high-risk ones. This meant that riskier assets such as cryptocurrencies dipped in value, leading to crypto firms falling. Sam would bail these companies out. He would buy the cryptocurrencies from their books at a steep discount, and since Alameda Research seemed to have more than enough money, it was a good move. But this wasn't the case. If you are enjoying this video, please consider subscribing. You'll get more content like this straight to your recommended, and it helps the channel out more than you could know. Now back to the story. Alameda was losing a lot of money by bailing out these failing companies, so Sam decided to secretly transfer more than $4 billion worth of FTX customer funds in FTT tokens to Alameda. This was done without consulting anyone. He didn't tell other FTX executives because there would be a risk that the information could be leaked, and Sam didn't want that. In order to suppress public suspicion towards a transfer of money this big, he posted a tweet saying that FTX funds were going to be shuffled around within FTX. Quote, "Heads up, rotating a few FTX wallets today, mostly non-circulating. We do this periodically. Might have a few more coming, won't have any effect." Some people still had suspicions, and the truth is, Sam was lying. It wasn't routine and it wasn't within FTX, as he was transferring funds to Alameda Research. The nail in the coffin is when Caroline, the Alameda Research CEO, accidentally mentioned on a call with Sam that FTX sent customer money to Alameda to save it financially, by saying that she admitted to possible criminal activity. So, other than the illegality of this transfer, why did this also prepare Alameda and FTX for their downfall? The reason is the transfer was of FTT tokens, not of US dollars. And that's what Sam would normally do. When it came to investing, borrowing, or using money for business purposes, Sam would use FTT tokens rather than US dollars. These FTT tokens aren't backed by a government or a standard such as gold. They were just created and controlled by FTX. This wouldn't lead to any problems if it kept going up in value, but if it went down, it would pose a serious problem for FTX, since they essentially would not have any money. On November 2nd, information about Alameda leaked, showing that Alameda's balance sheet was not in good shape, and that a large part of Alameda's assets were in FTT tokens. In other words, Alameda was on shaky ground and it did not look as stable as it once was. This is when Changpeng Zhao, also known as CZ, enters the picture. CZ is the co-founder and CEO of Binance, the world's largest cryptocurrency exchange by trading volume, which, of course, was being rivaled by FTX. A few years ago, 6 months after the launch of FTX, CZ bought 20% of the FTX exchange for around $100 million. Later, Sam would buy back this stock for $2 billion. However, once again, a part of this was paid in FTT tokens. Therefore, CZ had a large amount of FTT tokens, which gave him the power to bring FTX down by dumping it all at once. This would plummet the price of FTT tokens, and since FTX financially depended on its value so much, it would financially ruin FTX. On November 6th, CZ tweeted that Binance will dump the FTT they have, and FTX began to crumble. As a result, FTX customers withdrew $6 billion in FTT tokens from FTX in just 72 hours, and the FTT token price dropped 80% over the following 2 days. FTX's reserves fell drastically, meaning that they only had around 10% of the funds required to pay out every withdrawal. It got so bad that Sam called CZ asking for help, and they agreed on Binance buying FTX. CZ, to create a positive sentiment around Binance, said that FTX was in trouble, we bought to save them. This seemed like a very savvy business move, as Binance knocked down and would buy its biggest competitor. But just 2 days later, Binance announced that they were no longer going to buy FTX. The reason? When Binance analyzed FTX's books, they uncovered a large gap between FTX's assets and liabilities of around $8 billion. This was unexpected news for Binance, but also some of the FTX executives, who didn't know about FTX's financial background because they were left in the dark. To make matters worse, the US Justice Department began to investigate the FTX customer funds that were transferred as loans to Alameda. This was when FTX stopped withdrawals, and on the 11th of November, Sam resigned and tweeted that FTX and Alameda were filing for bankruptcy. This bankruptcy affected all of the crypto market, causing it to dip, and FTX, which was valued at $32 billion earlier that year, was gone. It was found that because Sam implemented a bookkeeping backdoor, none of the $10 billion transactions alerted anyone within the company, and apparently $1 billion of client money was unaccounted for and had vanished. On top of that, the money that remained in the FTX accounts was hacked and stolen, and consumers were starting to see their account balances reading zero. Companies such as Sequoia Capital saw their investments go to zero. FTX bankruptcy files showed that 134 different companies affiliated with FTX were also in trouble. As for Sam, according to his reports, he lost all of his wealth and has a negative net worth. In early December, Sam along with his conspirators were arrested, but the people that helped Sam pled guilty and turned their backs on Sam, leaving him with more and more charges. Now, Sam faces charges for over 100 years in prison. However, it's important to note that he was only arrested and charged, but not convicted. This was a story of how Sam Bankman-Fried went from having a multi-billion-dollar crypto exchange to losing it all and causing many people to lose billions. So what's your opinion on this whole FTX disaster? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing to get more content like this straight to your recommended.